Hello and welcome to Balsam Bashing. This is Conservation Conversation. This week we're going to meet Mark Emery from Thrive. Thrive is a charity that uses gardening to bring about positive changes in the lives of people with disabilities or ill health who are isolated, disadvantaged or vulnerable. I had a lovely chat with Mark. I'll be back at the end with some recommendations and production insights and that sort of thing. But first of all, let's go over to just outside of Reading, where I'm speaking to Mark about what exactly is social therapeutic horticulture. Let's just get that term down. This is social horticultural therapy. Which to what? How does the term go?
There's a number of different names, but I think we generally term it social and therapeutic horticulture.
Social and therapeutic horticulture.
Therapeutic horticulture. So it's green care as well under any other name.
Okay.
So again, that's sort of the main umbrella where we see care farming also involved. So this idea of sort of using nature for the benefit of those engaged in it.
Yeah, and you've come on to what I was going to ask next. What are those benefits? If you don't mind me taking a couple of guesses from what I've learned from others.
Yeah.
I spoke to Kelly at Groundwork. She was talking about being part of a group. I spoke to Ruth and Abby at TCV, and they were talking about the sort of tactile nature of touching plants. They're my guesses. What benefits do you see of people coming and being outdoors?
I mean, you've really hit on the main ones there, haven't you? I guess, the main three would be that social activity, feeling part of the community, feeling sort of yourself identifying as a gardener, someone who sort of nurtures and looks after plants, has an important part to play in sort of making stuff like this happening. There's a sort of creative element, isn't there, to gardening? It's sort of, for someone himself who went to art college initially, the idea of sort of just planting a bulb in the ground, giving it sort of 4 months, then having a sort of a tulip appear, that's far better than anything you could produce with, chalks, crayons, paints, anything over that period of time. So sort of a real appreciation of, sort of what's achievable through gardening activity, but also, sort of healthy living, having meals together, sharing experiences and things like that. And for lots of our client gardeners, there is a sense of, as I said, identifying as someone who looks after nature, is part of that group and has a sort of a group they can sort of share life experience with, or trials and tribulations, or even sort of those positive moments that they have within the garden.
Absolutely.
I think that's sort of that physical side of things that you talked about, but also for some people just digging over compost, that sense of sort of maybe working out frustration or anger, carrying out big physical tasks.
Oh yeah.
Are you much of a physical person, John?
I could do more exercise, but the excuse that I make is that, at least once a week I'll have a good few hours in the garden, and it's heavy manual labour. Once a wheelbarrow full of anything is hard work. Digging up potatoes and things like that, or rearranging shrubs, it's really hard work.
Yeah. And I think, with potatoes, it's like digging for gold, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And I think also for me, someone who doesn't, particularly appreciate going to the gym, when I started gardening, there was that sort of sense of sort of tiredness at the end of the day, aching, but also a sense of achievement that you get. You sort of look at what you've done, and you can see you've got potatoes you can share with your family. You've got sort of a bed you just newly dug over, and you can sort of plant out fresh, or all the things you planted out. So it's a real sense of accomplishment that goes with that.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I really don't like going to the gym. I'm not much of a runner either, but the endorphins rush at the end of a day of gardening. Yeah. I did some the other day, and honestly, I'd been editing these films for too long and sat in a chair. Did a spot of gardening, came back into the house, and executive producer wife was like, "What's wrong with you? You're very happy and energetic." And I think it was just the endorphins rushing over me, which is a lovely feeling. That's why people go to the gym, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why we do this thing, because it feels great.
Yeah.
To do that as part of a group as well, sharing skills, I would imagine is double the benefit.
Yep, many hands making light work and all that sort of thing.
There you go.
But at the same time as well, we can sort of appreciate just, walking round the garden. So appreciating seasonal change. I think maybe that's, the third and arguably most important part of what we do. That's appreciation of nature, connection with nature.
Right.
As you were saying, earlier, the bird song, setting up bird feeders or sort of bug hotels, and just sort of seeing seasonal change. And so again, that's something that people take home with them. So as a gardener, sort of one of the things I appreciated was sort of seeing things develop, seeing things change, and sometimes that can make you feel sort of remarkably large in your environment, where you're sort of looking after plants and you've got that sort of responsibility. But other times when you appreciate the fact that a teaspoon of compost has more microorganisms than maybe all the human beings on the planet, suddenly you feel very small, don't you? There's
is
all
a
sort
good
of different
fact.
ways of sort of
Yes.
seeing yourself in relation to the garden spaces that you're working in.
Yeah, I wasn't into gardening or horticulture or plants or anything way late into my 20s. I think I was in my late 20s when I first planted a plant.
Yes.
And the very first thing, after a year of that, the very first thing that struck me was that sense of seasonal change.
Yeah.
I had not appreciated it before. Winter was cold and summer was hot, that was it.
And maybe as a sort of gardener, you start to, you know, appreciate sort of just being in the moment more, just being in that sort of space and sort of just seeing what's going to happen in 2 weeks. Because you walk around the garden, you sort of do see incredible change over time, and so that appreciation of where you are in your life in respect to what's going on around you. So again, we can sort of see metaphors being built in, can't we?
There's a great amount of satisfaction in a job done well.
Yes.
Not everything you do in the garden is successful.
No,
though,
things don't always work out, do they?
Certainly not in my garden, mate, no. But there's also learning to be done from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? It feels like common sense.
Yeah.
But there is science behind this, is there?
There is certain, you know, sort of research studies being carried out. I think, you know, one of the main theories is maybe that biophilia, which
Tell me about that. I don't know about that. What's that?
Edward Wilson came up with this theory that, you know, we all have sort of grown around in nature, we sort of evolved through nature, and so therefore we have this sort of natural connection. So bio means life, philia means love of. So it's the idea that sort of we are naturally connected to nature, we always have been. We sort of, you know, recognise perhaps, you know, in our environment here that when we see the colour of green, it means that there's sort of water nearby. It makes us feel safe and secure. Where we are right now, we make connections with nature, we sort of recognise its benefit, and we sort of recognise what to go near and what not to go near as well, perhaps.
Yeah.
Through, you know, colorisation and things like that.
I again, on a common sense, at a sort of natural level, that feels really tangible to me because you go for a walk in the woods, you feel better about whatever happened. It feels like there's nothing that a walk can't at least help a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly sort of takes you away from where you were in that particular moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so we can think about, you know, attention restoration theory, also, you know, just mindfulness and this idea of being in green spaces, being in nature, feeling sort of a sense of being away, or maybe just sort of finding something to focus on, like, you know, a flower head or something like that just helps you sort of feel calmer and more relaxed in that present situation.
I couldn't feel more calm and relaxed at the moment. There's so many sounds of birds around us.
Yes.
I haven't got Merlin birds out at the moment, but on the app I imagine there'd be several different species, and it just feels relaxing, doesn't it, being outdoors in an environment like this.
Can I just, sorry, while you think of the next question, if you don't mind.
Thanks very much, Mark. We'll be back after this advert.
This programme is brought to you by Genuinely Beneficial Product. This week,
Nana! Hello?
Genuinely Beneficial Product.
Thanks, Genuinely Beneficial Product. We better go back to Mark and I because the sun's getting a bit low out here. Thrive is obviously focused on the clients and volunteers and people who work here. Do you, though, consider yourself a conservationist? You know, you care about the environment, but would you call yourself a conservationist?
I certainly, you know, care about the environment. I try and practice a no-dig, you know, method of working and think about having areas in my garden for just wildlife. Although sometimes I do think, am I just being lazy?
There's no difference.
No.
I say, oh, that's my wildlife habitat.
Yeah,
and it's
I
a
do
pile
just leave
of
areas to grow wild with ivy and brambles and think, there, I'm doing it.
Hey, the professors of ecology told me that we're doing it right, mate.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're forgiven for that one.
But then at times, you know, when it comes to, say, you know, maybe being slightly less, or being slightly lax with my no-dig technique, where I do just want to feel that part of me digging in that compost is helping. That, you know,
Absolutely.
it also, as I said, helps me work out maybe some frustration or have that activity that I really want to sort of just get stuck into something.
We are in autumn. This is October 2025 while we're speaking. And this is my favourite autumn so far. And I'll tell you what, it's the first year I've done any seed collection.
Nice.
In my garden. So
What did you go for?
Calendula was a really easy starter one for me.
Yeah.
Calendula just dries out really nicely on the plant. And I'm led to believe that at this time of year you scatter them and you'll probably get some next year. Am I right?
It's always worth a go, isn't it?
I'm going to give it a try.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Free seeds.
My favourite's probably poppies, because you've got that sort of pepper sort of like type shape, don't you? And you sort of shake that, it's hugely satisfying.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, that sensory element. I think, you know, lots of us, when we think about sort of tomatoes on the vine, when you sort of smell that, it's really evocative, and it might take you back to, you know, certainly for me, it's my childhood, being in my granddad's glass house.
What a nice memory.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of gardening in your family background, was
Certainly, you know, I think those smells have a really strong connection, and I think, you know, we can sort of maybe appreciate, you know, different plants and what they provide us. And, you know, one of the things I've been sort of mulling on recently is that, you know, when we think about plants that we connect to our childhood, it's often things like dandelions or buttercups and things like that.
Buttercups with the butter
Yes.
test, you know.
So suddenly, so you've got that interaction, you've got those memories,
Yeah.
and these can be hugely positive for some people. So it's, you know, connecting with these things that perhaps we see as weeds in other environments.
We were talking about seeds and all that tactile thing. The poppies, my mother-in-law did give me some poppies seeds from her poppy plant this year. Thank you, Jan. Thank you very much for that. And it's the pop thing of the actual sort of, the case that they come in,
Yes.
or the seed head or whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the most entertaining and tactile seed to pop is Himalayan Balsam, but people mustn't be doing that.
Yes.
I was in a patch the other day and I made the mistake of brushing against them, and the seeds did go everywhere. That, Mark, is my conservation sin for the week.
Conservation sins.
I popped some balsam seeds. I'm really sorry.
It
to
does sound
everybody
like purely
about that.
accidental, though, doesn't it?
This one was, I promise
So
you.
yeah, I'm
I
certainly
promise you.
forgiving of your sin there, John.
I'm really grateful.
That's all right. I don't know if that's
Thank
what you
you.
came here for.
Yeah, I'll see you. We'll be off now. No. I do always confess my conservation sin every week because nobody's perfect. Is there anything that you'd like to get off your chest?
The one that comes to mind, John, is I'm guilty at times of using the car for a walking journey. So classically, if I'm going for a swim, it's a 12-minute walk. I'll drive there in under that, thinking that's saving time. But also in the back of my head, I'll be thinking, why? I didn't need to do this.
The guilt that comes with it is almost worse.
Yes. And I started, you know, you try and weigh it up, don't you? It's not much petrol I'm using or that sort of thing. But you know, essentially, you didn't need to use the car for the trip to the shop, for the school pickup, for the trip. Yeah. So that would be my conservation sin.
I empathise.
Thank you.
I play seven-a-side football, and I will say, though, the motivation to get there sometimes is so lacking that if I just let myself drive just this once, I will then do the football, because we need to do the exercise. You know, that you're swimming, are you?
Yeah, I like swimming.
Proper exercise. So I empathise. However, you know, it's at this time of year where it's getting colder. We're in the autumn now. This is when I become more and more guilty of this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I forgive you for that. I think we all do it. The world is set up for people to drive. It's not very pleasant to walk everywhere, is it? However, I wonder if you and I, in the next 6 months, we can both, one of those times, walk instead of driving, and just, I'll text you.
I'm going to avoid balsam.
Avoid the balsam.
There you go.
And I will cycle to football.
Nice.
That's a good deal.
Shake
we can
on
be
it.
absorbed. Let's shake on that. Good deal, sir.
Perfect, man.
Thank you. I feel better. I feel better getting that off my chest. So if people want to get sort of involved with what Thrive do, or just learn a little bit more, is there any way they can get in touch? Or?
Certainly, you know, you can always contact Thrive. Just go on the Thrive website. It's got numbers there, so we've got a range of different teams from information and training, or you can look at the different sites and see if there's any sort of way you want to be involved in some of the projects. We've also got an app which is called Cultivating Wellbeing, and it sort of, breaks up the year into different seasons, and then thinks about tasks that people want to do. And when you sort of sign on, you can sort of, again, give a bit about yourself, and it'll sort of hopefully guide you towards tasks and make them sort of easy to accomplish and enjoyable as well.
I think I need that app.
So yeah, it's Cultivating Wellbeing, just to give the full plug there, John.
Cultivating Wellbeing. We're throwing it up on the screen there. I'm always looking for an app that helps me keep track of the year. Yeah. That's the hardest bit to do sometimes. And where did I put the garlic? I can't remember.
And I think that's it. We're going to do elephant garlic in the next sort of season. Yeah. But it is that sort of time you don't think, you might feel a bit sort of hesitant going, because you don't know what to do. Yeah. But it just gives some activities, maybe sort of taking photos at times of the year. And again, that's sort of appreciation of what's going on, tabletop gardening. So make sure that people can access gardening activities and don't feel overwhelmed by the idea of not doing things right.
Okay, thank you everybody at Thrive. That was a wonderful experience. It's time for some recommendations. We're going to do it slightly different this week. We're going to do some retroactive recommendations because there's several things that I recommended to you without giving them a score out of 14. And one of you, at least, has decided that that is not acceptable. So here we go. The first recommendation this week is Soil by Matthew Evans. It's a book I read when I was speaking to Henry because it's all about soil health and soil erosion. The reason I'm recommending it this week is its message, eventually, is just plant things. If you've got any space, whether it's a balcony or a garden, plant something. It's only going to be genuinely beneficial. I'm going to give this book a 13 out of 14 just for that message. There's a YouTube channel that came up this week. That's Charles Dowding. He's the proponent of no dig. I think I recommended him in the very first video that we made, so check him out. I'm going to give that a 12 out of 14. It's nice and relaxed. It's not Space Odyssey. It's not Blade Runner, but it's nice. And if I was going to recommend a podcast, it would have to be Climate Denier's Playbook. I recommended that ages ago. They just released an episode all about something called Climate the Movie, which is this climate denier, nonsense. And they deconstruct it, and who doesn't love movie deconstruction? So I'm going to give it 14 out of 14, that whole podcast and that particular episode. That's genuinely beneficial. And at the risk of immediately reusing that very same graphic, it's time for production insights. I'm only going to give you one this week. A few weeks ago, I released a video where I recommended a book of the week. Thinking about climate change, that's why the book of the week this week is called Human Errors. It's by accidentally, the audio went down. That was meant to go under production insights. It's hilarious. Check it out if you want to go and find that. It's at the end of this episode, that side. And I'll see you soon.